All right. Oh, wait, back up. All right. Let me start over. My name is Tia, and this is my project on invasive species. So, I would like to start out with the denotation of the term. An invasive species is a species that is a non native to an ecosystem under consideration and whose introduction causes economic or environmental harm to human health or the health of the native species in that ecosystem. The first invasive species that I chose to do some research on is black carp. I will take time out of my life to pronounce the scientific name, but I'm not about to make a fool of myself, so I'm never gonna try it. Black carps are native to Eastern Asia, as in China, Eastern Russia, and Northern Vietnam. They go by the aliases as snail carps, Chinese black carp, Chinese roach, black Chinese roach, black amur, and they have very distinguishable features. So they're blackish brown fish with blackish gray fins, with an elongated and laterally compressed body. On average, they weigh 33 pounds and grow up to about 3 feet. But to its maximum, I guess, weight and length, it can be 1 to 50 pounds and 50 feet. Now, they were initially imported in the 1970s, but they made a more grander appearance in the 1980s. So they entered in the early 1970s as a contaminant in grass carp stocks, and more intros began in the 1980s when fish farmers began using them as yellow grub control and as a snail control in catfish farms. But after going on in the 80s, the spread just became a little more wilder, I guess. So in 1994, what happened was a black carp escaped and was reported being seen because an aquaculture facility located in Missouri um had their Orange River flood. So then the black carp just was like, let me hop in the river and let me just spread my seed and do whatever, and it kind of went haywire from there. And then afterwards, in 2003, the black Chinese roach was reported being seen in the wild. So, it was reported being seen around other native fish of the United States. And then in 2004, it was reported here in Louisiana in its own Red River. Now, some may ask, how is having extra fish, invasive? But the reason why black carp is an invasive species is because they're competent enough to outcompete our native fish and etc. Also, they're host to many parasites. So black carp is just one of those fish that can just hold germs and deadly diseases for these other fish, and that's just not cool. And them having that many parasites in them, that can kill off the native species of fish that's already in our waters. And then if the black carp remains in the waterways and not held in facilities, they can infect the fish. But people are finding ways to control them, and some of the control methods is to stop importation of them and to not put excess bait into the waters, but to leave it on land instead, so you're not feeding into the population growth. So yeah, that's black carp. Here's some pictures or whatever. You got the picture of a black carp on the left, the population of black carp in its native land. Then you have population carp distribution in the United States, all the red and the pink or whatever. So the next invasive species I decided to discuss was kudzu. Now, kudzu is known by many aliases. It's known like foot of a vine, vine that ate the south in cohemp. And the scientific name is right there, but as y'all know, I'm not about to waste my time on trying to pronounce it and sound crazy. So yeah. Kudzu is native to Japan and Southeast China, and it can be botanically described as a semi-woody vine. It's high climbing. It has tuberous roots and rope-like dark brown stems. The stems can grow to be about 60 feet long, and the leaves, they are dark green and hairy on both sides, growing to be a max of 5.4 inches long. Also, kudzu is a sweet smelling plant. It's fragrant. It's not like a stank plant that you just see around. It's ew. But kudzu was first introduced in 1876 at the Philadelphia Centennial Exposition as an ornamental for one of the art pieces there. So it was imported as, okay, this is just a cute little plant. I want to add it to my art piece. Them not realizing that this plant is invasive and it really is detrimental towards the ecosystem here in the United States. So from there, kudzu became more popular, and then around in the 1930s and 50s, it was introduced more and more. Even though it was like first imported in the 19th century, by the time 20th century came around, people were like importing it more and more, and then you have problems like this starting out with kudzu. Like it was brought to the south and grown in the south to prevent soil erosion and to control soil erosion, but little do they know, the plant is now being seen as an invasive species. Now, the way like kudzu grows, it spreads through runners and it, like with its stems that root at the tip, and with contact with like moist soil, it grows from there. So kudzu is like that plant that you see like on abandoned buildings here in New Orleans, like just like a bunch of leaves on the building. That's like kudzu right there. And like the way kudzu is like really like invasive is the fact that it can grow on top of our native plants and like make sure they don't get any sunlight, any moisture. It's just gonna stay in the shade. It's just gonna be overpowered by kudzu. Like our native species will be overpowered by it. And then like it could cover like tree trunks and then eventually break down tree trunks and break down branches. And it can have the potential to deforest a whole part of our land. So that's why kudzu is like invasive to the south, especially once it was like grown and imported here. Everything went kind of haywire from there. And kudzu can grow up to be like 1 foot, like it can grow to be 1 foot a day. So like it grows in increments of like 1 foot. So kudzu is just one of those plants like you keep feeding on it and it keeps feeding on our land. It's just gonna continue to grow and just be detrimental. And ways that were seen to like control it was like increased grazing of lands. So like cattle and like I think it was just cattle when I was doing my research, like they eat kudzu, so like grazing the lands helps with all the kudzu control. Also mowing a lot of our land helps with kudzu control. Also strong herbicides to kill off the plant help, because once you can kill it at its root, that's it. It's just not gonna grow. So here's the image of kudzu on your left, and then on your right, you have like a little map. Like the white is like where it's native at, like the space where it's native at, and then in the red you could see where it's invasive. So like even though it's highly invasive here in the southeast and southern area of the United States, it's also invasive in other countries outside of the United States. Here's a better image of kudzu and its spread in the southeastern United States. It's in a little northwestern part, but like nobody wants to pay attention to that. And the last invasive species I decided to discuss is alligator weed. Now that's a big old scientific name. Y'all already know the gist now. Sis not about to pronounce it. Not about to do that for y'all. So sorry. But it's only good thing is it's only known by one alias, and that is alligator weed. The species is native to South American countries like Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. I hope I pronounced that right. But it's native there. Alligator weed can be described as a whitish paper flower that has short, like a whitish paper flower type plant, and it has like short stalks and has narrow stems. They can grow to be 10 meters in length and 13 millimeters in diameter. They have like a ball shape, I guess like a ball shape image. Um, they were first introduced in Australia by the Second World War. And the plant itself has like a unique, intricate root system that allows them to hang from places and completely penetrate themselves in the ground and still thrive. So alligator weed is like one of those silent in the night type plants, like one of those like I'm trying to open a refrigerator and I'm not making any noise type like plants. Like you wouldn't realize it's there until you like pay attention. But it was like introduced in the Second World War, and it was introduced via like in Newcastle via cargo ships. So the introduction of alligator weed itself was like pretty accidental, but its effects are shown to be highly negative for Australia. The effects of like alligator weed really became prominent in the 60s when it made its appearance in Albury, Australia. So in 1967, it spread and dispersed from there, and then for the next 20 years afterwards, like it impacts in it impacts Australia's vegetation powerfully. It disrupts the flow of water because it has dense mats that create clusters of stems. So its stems can wrap around like already native species there in Australia, take all the soil's nutrients for that native species, and just continue to thrive. Like it outcompetes its the native species already present. And but like by having these dense mats, it, like I said, it outcompetes the native species for solar energy and space also. And that would mean that the native species will begin to die out, and the alligator we will have like a monopoly on nutrients that was there not meant for them. Like it was placed there for the native species, but then they just gonna take it over, like that's cool or whatever, and it's just not. And also, like alligator weed increases sedimentation in the water that's used to irrigate the native crops that the weed has outcompeted. But this highly occurs, and this only pretty much occurs like in the farming industry. So like the farmers there just knows, okay, we have alligator weed, we have to take it out with like certain herbicides, but then sometimes it doesn't work because it's that strong of an invasive species. But if the alligator weed continues to grow, then the farming industry will be in a wreck because economically speaking, if you can't plant your native species and you can't plant native crops, then you're gonna fall into a recession because there's not gonna be enough food, or there's gonna be limited resources, blah say blah, tragic event basically. And then economically, Australia will be just depleting. Methods to control alligator weed basically is just like strong herbicides. Like they are not like us where we're just trying to mow it out or like get cattle. They're like, we need poison for these plants. And all in all, even though it can try to control the alligator weed, at the same time, those same herbicides also affect the native species there. So they're still trying to find like other methods of controlling the invasive species. They, as in like farmers and the government, etc. But it's all it's a little work in progress. So we have right here like a projected spread in dispersion of alligator weed on your left. So like if it's like orange and darker, that's where it's really like highly predicted that it'll like go. And if it's yellow, like it may, like there's a chance, but then there may not be. And then on your right, you actually have potential distribution, and then the current distribution. The current distribution will be in yellow, and then the potential distribution will be in red. So alligator weed, even though it may not seem like a lot, is still highly affecting the farming industry, and it affects native species in general. And that's about it. I don't regret anything about this little PowerPoint. I think I did amazing. And that's the end. And if y'all have any questions, that's my facial expression on the right because yeah, like it's pretty self-explanatory. And yeah, so if y'all have any questions, y'all can ask me. And that's it, you guys. Y'all can like and subscribe at, let me stop playing, but y'all can follow me on Snapchat at young 6Gs 27. Yadig. Bye.